channel. Joining us is Helen Abola, CEO of Urban Zen. Helen oversees the brand's operations, including Urban Zen Collection and artisanal partnerships, Urban Zen retail stores, Urban Zen Center, and the Urban Zen Foundation. She joins us today via video, and she also leads groundbreaking Urban Zen Integrative Therapy, a program that integrates Eastern healing modalities with Western science. Welcome, Helen. Also joining us is Marie Driscoll. Marie is an award-winning retail analyst who joined Deborah at Coresight when it was Fung Global Retail and Tech in 2014. She covers luxury and fashion at Coresight. Welcome, Marie. We're excited to have you as well. And last but not least, Rich Wagner, CEO of Prevedere. He brings 15 years of leadership from the Big Four consulting and Fortune 500 firms. He's worked with C-level executives on major corporate initiatives, including preparing due diligence on dozens of multi-billion-dollar mergers, acquisitions, and corporate projects. So let's get started. I'd like to welcome all three of you and look forward to hearing your insight on a really interesting time in retail. We'll get started with Helen. Helen, you've held multiple lead roles across merchandising, supply chain, and digital. Can you help us better understand how COVID-19 will bring forward a new retail? And then what are some of Urban Zen's strengths that position it to be a part of it? What will change for your brand as you move forward? And will retail ever really go back to the way it was?
So Poonam, what we've witnessed is COVID-19 accelerate the new retail landscape we all knew was coming. So I would first start with that retail, whether in-store or digital, will be even more customer-centric. This pandemic has required retailers to leverage technology to enhance their customer relationships, including ourselves. Therefore, customers have grown accustomed to even more virtual support tools when shopping online or on their phones than they ever have in the past, which at the core are personal and consultative. Consumers won't return to the old way of traditional retail. For example, we're seeing this done successfully by offering virtual appointments with sales specialists or using augmented reality to see what a product looks like in your home or on your body. The future of retail is also providing what a customer wants when they want it and how. So for us luxury brands, we'll need to view digital not only as a content and a communication driver that houses the stories that evoke emotion and maintain our brand positioning, but also as a virtual store front in order to convert more digitally native customers, which is, again, a new area for us. And in terms of the future of retail moving forward, investing in omni-channel capabilities is imperative. We've seen this depending on the size and scale of businesses. We will see a bigger focus on digital shopping channels, even if that requires stores to also operate as fulfillment hubs. And lastly, I would say the future of retail is definitely experiential. Digital will be augmented by the in-store experience. For example, here at Urban Zen, we have our location in the Hamptons that operates as a retail restaurant experience in partnership with Tuto. We curate wellness experiences in Los Angeles in our store, hold art exhibits, all year long in our New York City store. So for years now, Urban Zen has believed in this concept of retail encompassing more than just product sales, but more about educating the consumer how the product's made. And we're offering those digital experiences that include travels that were recorded during the design team's inspirational trips. So that's how we see it moving forward, and that's how we're positioning ourselves.
Transformation across digital, data analysis still very much at the core behind good decision making. So I'd like to bring Rich in here. Rich, tell us what you think the data tells you about the future of retail, shopping, and just consumer behavior. What changes are here to stay? How are retailers and clients leveraging this data in their forecasting and planning process, considering all the uncertainty that we see today?
Hi, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I'm on my phone. Okay. So if you can hear me now, the question was about really acceleration of the transformation of the consumer and the retailer. Is that correct?
That's correct, Rich.
That's correct, Rich.
Oh, good. Okay. So what we've seen is certainly the consumers changing how they're buying. Those that were infrequent purchasers of online or using mobile to shop, there's really studies that show they've adopted that as a new preferred method and will continue to adopt it. On the retailer side of things, we've seen even traditional stores that may serve rural or urban settings, that both consumers are changing the way that they purchase as well as their in-store experience has changed from a retailer standpoint. So we've seen companies that really adopted omni-channel much faster. Pickup and delivery same day is new. Even drive-throughs in some of the really rural areas. One of the CEOs I heard talk about this was Hal Lawton at Tractor Supply. They're really changing the customer experience, and they're using this as a catalyst to digital transformation, in addition to way that they watch and monitor consumers using new data sets and new data about how they behave.
Great, thank you. So Marie, why don't you jump in here for a second and let's focus on luxury brands, a group that you followed very closely at Coresight. Digital is still very small there. Where do you see that going? And perhaps speak to who is best positioned to make the greatest digital leap, as we said here today.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Luxury has been slow to join the digital channel, but COVID showed us how very important digital is. If you are a luxury brand in 2020 and you don't have a digital strategy, you're toast. Young Chinese consumers are pivotal to the continued growth of luxury of the industry, and their mode of brand discovery has been digital. That's where they discover and that's where they interact. And if you're not in that digital ecosystem, you're not discovered, you're not remembered, and you're not part of the consideration set. So COVID, as we mentioned earlier, as Helen mentioned earlier, really just accelerated the adoption of digital. Many luxury brands had already entered the digital phase, and we're seeing that accelerate, and especially with the advent of video shopping. Video is a perfect venue for telling brand stories, and that's what luxury brands do. So luxury shoppers need to be able to access online in a COVID environment. The luxury brands are making some products available. You don't have to have everything available. And the big players like the Christian Dior's, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes are all doing interesting things digitally to engage their consumer and attract new ones. And as video becomes a bigger piece of the digital media marketing mix, we think more luxury brands will adopt it.
Just moving back to Rich really quickly. Obviously, the times are volatile and things are moving much faster than we would have expected. How do you think retailers will be adapting to this volatility in the near term, or even novel data that they're seeing today?
Yeah, the foundation of digital transformation is really data, and there's a wealth of information that's now available that wasn't available before. And what we're seeing retailers do is start to look for things that are more frequent in nature than maybe some of the assumptions and the gut feel that they had in the past on what their consumers were wanting or what their consumers would do. We're seeing things that are being tracked about us and our behaviors that now can be leveraged by leaders within organizations to make more fact-based and data-driven decisions. Some examples of that are about these even smaller retailers that use a system for online scheduling we can leverage that data of about 100,000 employees across retail, food and beverage, and we can actually see what stores are open, how many hours they're working, and other retailers that may be essential can leverage that information to understand, are they organically growing their customer base, or is it because some of the other retailers or competitors are not open, or maybe they're not staffing the stores completely. We've also seen more near-term signals on what we call soft data or consumer sentiment, consumer spending plans. That data we can track by category, and we can ask a panel of customers in the next 6 months, how do you feel about purchasing certain categories? And watch as that's shifting quite a bit away from some of the luxury goods and the apparel, of course, the more basic needs, but also things like lawn and garden. As people are staying at home, we can actually ask them questions about their purchases there. And then some really interesting stuff that's happened and that our customers are leveraging are things like mobile data and point of interest data that now even the Federal Reserve is starting to collect from Google and Apple and other providers of this data that can actually tell us where people are going, how long they're spending in locations, whether they're actually walking up to the counter or they're going through a drive-through. And those metrics combined with those traditional hard metrics in a more frequent basis are being leveraged to really understand how to react in this environment.
Point of making your decisions. We know experiences matter, and we know digital is going to drive retail. What about stores? Helen, let's have you jump back in here to give us a quick rundown of your stores and what really makes them different. Store sizes are getting smaller in retail, but Urban Zen has pretty large store formats. So how do these stores fit into the future of retail? I guess from every standpoint, experiential, product, and even sustainability to a large extent.
Absolutely. So for each urban store location has its own culture. Whether it's, you look at Los Angeles, it's the epicenter of wellness. At its core, Urban Zen is about finding calm in the chaos, nurturing the mind, body, and soul, whether you're buying yoga apparel, loungewear. So we embrace the culture of Los Angeles. For New York, we celebrate the arts through holding exhibits from all over the world. And Sag Harbor Tuto is a very neighborhood family environment. The restaurant retail concept is very successful for us there. It's the Urban Zen furniture and home decor decorate the space. So again, it's about embracing the city that we're in and making sure that every location is experiential, including our digital space. In addition to our own products, our stores introduce artisanal products from Bali, Guatemala, Africa, South America, and local artisans, by the way, from the city, the communities we're in. And our vision and support on sustainability is experienced in our collective conscious design and collaboration with global artisans. That's really important to us.
How, sustainability will be luxury brands, how important it is. I believe you authored a report on luxury rebranding in the U.S. Tell us a little about this. What will drive a luxury recovery either this year or in the next year or two?
On the luxury shopper in the U.S. Luxury is really a global industry, and it is a lot of its growth comes, number one, out of China, and the vast demographic trends of people entering the middle and upper classes, then that's been driving luxury growth for the last 20 years and will continue to do so for probably the next 20. Another thing that drives luxury growth is international travel. And that for this year is down and out for the count. So that's going to impact luxury spending this year. And we probably won't see luxury hit the numbers that it hit at the end of 2019 until the end of 2021. You're seeing the Chinese consumer back in. If you listen to the LVMH call yesterday, China is already back. They're very positive about a recovery in the United States. And it's going to take time because the consumer is still nervous about going to the stores. But strong brands will recover. They have heritage elements. And during times of unease, heritage brands that you can count on, luxury consumers flock to. But one of the silver linings that we have here with the lack of travel, on the survey that we did in mid-June, we found that 30% of luxury spending for U.S. luxury shoppers is done on international travel. So that 30% of their luxury wallet, they can keep here in the United States and spend domestically on luxury product. So we think that, smart luxury brands that engage their customer, have exclusives, practice clienteling, either analog with a phone, in store with appointments, or with Zoom appointments, they will capture increased spend. Another silver lining of COVID has been the pendulum swinging from a consumer focused on experiences to a consumer focused on product. Frankly, with COVID, we've had a lack of experiences. You can't go out to eat, you can't go to the theater, you can't go to the art galleries. So there's limited experiences, and shopping becomes the new experience. And nothing creates an experience like a Nike or a luxury product. So we see that driving luxury rebounding later this year and through 2021.
Great. Thanks, Marie. I'm going to turn it back to Rich, bigger picture question. Rich, what do you feel about the role of technology through chaos black swan events?
Yeah, the role of technology to me is always been an enabler to really improve results, or a change agent, if you would, to improve results. And nobody can predict the black swan event. So you really can't predict what you can't predict. We're not going to predict the hurricane exact day that it's going to happen. We're not going to predict a global pandemic that hasn't happened for 100 years. However, when those events happen, the companies that actually adopt and accelerate the use of technology are typically the ones that are going to survive and even thrive, and use it as a catalyst again to really outperform the competition. So I think technology is here to, one, be that guiding light, and to bring some facts and some data and insights into our decision making that now is, really mission critical almost daily. And it's definitely weekly in retail to pay attention to. So we have to get away from that ad hoc and manual way of maybe assuming things will happen and collecting data by hand on consumers, but actually embrace technology to tell us, which direction to take during an event like this. Also, for where there's signs of recovery, that we can actually start to feel comfortable. And if we leverage technology, take the guesswork out of it, take the assumptions out of it again, I think those are the companies that will survive. And although we couldn't predict the black swan event, we can definitely help companies adapt to it and change their business process to succeed.
So I guess, as we've heard a lot about the new retail, but I guess if I wanted to ask you one last question before we go into our poll question, it's that what is the most interesting thing that you have seen during COVID that you think will really redefine retail for the future? Why don't we start with Helen and then move to Marie and then Rich?
It's definitely the digital capabilities that didn't exist a few years ago, right? So for us, whether it's the use of augmented reality and that product being perfected enough for us to feel comfortable using it and authentic, and then the other is a virtual reality. This, again, giving that our customer the same personal one-on-one experience that he or she are used to in our store, and bringing it to their home, or whether it's, in their home, or we're doing that vice versa from our own space. Again, I think that it's embracing the technology and watching as the industry has done that and being very creative in utilizing it as an instrumental tool moving forward.
How about you, Marie?
So for me, it's the consumer and how the consumer reacted in COVID. It's very unusual that you would ever see consumer behavior change as dramatically as we saw it change in COVID, due to the fear regarding people's health, what happened with their employment, all of a sudden switching from walking around, eating out, to only thinking about essentials antiseptics, toilet paper. Obviously, we're past that, but what behaviors stay and what change? And I think that during this time of quarantine, the consumer has had the time to do self-examination, examine their values, and I think they're re-examining their needs and enjoying the power of their pocketbook, when they spend, what that says. And I think they're looking for brands that represent their values. And so I think that's really exciting for me.
Agreed. And Rich?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me is how leaders and some of the top retailers that we work with have changed their behavior. What we're seeing now is really a lot more communication at the leadership team, a lot more frequently. So instead of the monthly, quarterly, annual plan, we're seeing leaders within companies 2 to 3 times a week and maybe even daily actually get together and review facts and data about what's happening. And they're using that information to truly fuel a consensus-based forecasting approach on big decisions, like how many lawn tractors should we stock? We saw one retailer that in their history they had never sold bicycles, but they noticed, one of the employees noticed a shortage or an outage of it at another store, and they used that information and immediately went out and changed and brought in bicycles to their stores and sold out.
A co-moderator has joined the conference.
So it's been a interesting thing to see people, go from very lengthy time frames and very thought out and thoughtful ways to make decisions to react more quickly, but to do it in a more conscientious way, in really a more fact-based way that I think was really needed. I think you see some of the retailers that aren't making it or aren't going to make it, their business models haven't changed for decades. But there's a group of leaders within some of the leading brick and mortar retailers that we work with that are adopting technology and are adopting change, but the speed at which they're doing it is really compressed. It's not a 2 to 3 year digital transformation exercise. They're saying, hey, I need external data right now. So that's really something that I've seen is just an acceleration of change and the ability for leaders to truly take advantage of it in the shortest time frame I've ever seen.
Great, thank you. Before I end this panel, let's go over to the poll question and let's see. Looks like a pretty clear win here. So how important do you think an omni-channel retail strategy will be to the success of retailers as we ease into recovery mode? And it seems like we have a 90% vote on extremely. Panelists, do you all agree? I mean, I would definitely agree. How about you, Marie, and then Helen and Rich?
100%.
Absolutely.
Helen, you're nodding.
Definitely agree.
Everyone. Great. So I'd like to, with that, thank Marie, Helen, and Rich for joining us today on this panel. Thank you for sharing your insights. We're really glad you were able to join. And I'd like to turn the platform over to Deborah Weinzweg, CEO and founder of Coresight Research, to talk a little bit about the future of real estate.
Thank you, Poonam. That was a great conversation. Welcome to the Future of Real Estate panel, where we have 3 distinguished speakers. As the retail real estate sector has been very much in flux, many companies are rethinking the future of their physical footprint, and some have exited the physical world altogether. I'm excited to welcome James Cook, Lindsay Dutch, and John Crombie for what I am sure will prove to be a dynamic discussion as we discuss what's next in the real estate sector and how retailers and landlords can work together to establish a strong landscape for the future. James Cook is the America's